Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our panel discussion on building lasting relationships with customers in the e-commerce world. My name is Tiamin, and I'm the lead at Parcel Monitor, the leading platform for e-commerce logistics insights. So with our studies and together with industry experts around the world, we hope to provide our community members a platform to acquire knowledge and exchange insights about retail, e-commerce, and logistics. So we all witnessed how the pandemic accelerated the shift towards e-commerce, and with the growing number of people shopping online, the retail and e-commerce space is also getting increasingly crowded and competitive. So with that in mind, so how do e-commerce businesses set themselves apart, retain these new customers, and build customer loyalty? So today, we're extremely excited to have with us Jay, co-founder of Bold Commerce, and Shane, country manager Doug of Reviews.io, to share their insights. As usual, if you have any questions during the discussion, please feel free to leave a comment on the events page itself. So without further ado, let's get the session started. So very happy to have you, Jay and Shane.
Hi, good morning, good evening.
Honored to be here.
But whenever we start the session, we like to start out with some warm-up questions, some introduction questions, just to get everyone warmed up. So this is a favorite question of ours. It's an introduction question with a bit of a flavor to it. So maybe starting with our Shane. So could you tell us a bit about yourself and Reviews.io without using the word e-commerce?
I'll give it a go. Does online count as a acceptable word? Shane, hi. I head up the DACH region for Reviews.io. DACH being Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. I've been with the company now for about 2 years. Reviews.io basically helps online retailers to collect feedback from their customers, both company and product reviews, and also use that sort of throughout their marketing stack. So regardless if that is a Klaviyo, a Shopify, a loyalty line, using that review data basically to power their strategy beyond just a simple review placement on the website.
You did it. You didn't say e-commerce once.
Not once.
Exactly. Great job. So I think, Jay, are you ready for the challenge? Over to you. Tell us more about yourself, of course, and Bold Commerce.
Sure. My name is Jay Myers. I'm one of the founders of Bold Commerce. I've also been an e-commerce. Oh, shoot, there I said it. I was an online store owner since 1998. So I've kind of been on both sides of the fence. What we do at Bold is we are a checkout experience company. We work with some of the largest brands in the world, helping them create unique checkout experiences for everywhere customers come from. A big part of that is subscriptions and membership, which I'm excited to get into a bit today because I know that's some of the topics here. That's us in a nutshell.
Great answer. Thanks, Shane. Thanks, Jay. That's always not an easy question, so I think great job. Hopefully no one ever asks me the question next time.
Yeah.
Okay, so thanks for the introduction. I think great to know you guys and great to share with our community as well. So maybe just going into a bit of a recap of what happened last year, since we're still early in the year of 2022. So Jay, Shane, so were there any interesting learnings that you found from last year, and what kind of trends you think emerged actually during the course of the pandemic? Maybe Jay, over to you first.
Sure. Where do I start? So I feel like, the world changed in the last couple of years, but, I guess fundamentally, the way people shop online, it's changed. And obviously I think for the long term, but it changed the way people shop, but it also activated a new segment of customers buying online, and it, I would say, increased and doubled down those who already did. So it activated more people, and then people who already shopped online, it just made them shop even more. And then at a high level, I think the numbers say that we moved e-commerce forward, where projections were putting it 10 years out. It also, I think, enabled, if e-commerce e-commerce existed for long before the pandemic, but I think now if you weren't, if e-commerce wasn't at the forefront of your retail strategy, it now is. And whether that's through buy online, pick up in store, reserve online, and these like not instant, but near same day and very, very fast delivery, curbside pickups. And I think we saw a huge shift. We saw some of the biggest names that we've known forever going out of business. J. Crew, Neiman Marcus, JCPenney, GNC, Century 21, the list goes on. And then we saw other brands doing extremely well. So, and the differentiator was brands that had a good digital strategy did really well, and ones that didn't, they unfortunately claimed bankruptcy last year. And the one other thing I'll add, I don't want to go too long on this, but from our perspective, we really saw, well, I think not from ours, but from everyone's, but a lot of brands doubling down on D2C, like going directly to the consumer. And there was a few things I think driving that. One is, the wholesale channels, maybe retail was disrupted. So orders probably weren't coming in as much as people thought. And so a lot of brands really got this sense that they need to own the relationship with the customer, and owning that relationship with the customer means going directly to the consumer. The big use case we kind of all look at is Nike, but they're one of many. I mean, we saw Heinz ketchup going direct to consumer, Clorox, like things that like you would normally never think. But that became an important strategy. They wanted to own that relationship with the customer.
Definitely. I think I'd kind of repeat that too, right? Like there's been a huge shift between, say, consumer purchases going from the offline to online world. A lot of brands having to think on their feet, especially at, say, the start of 2020. And some just couldn't do it, say the JCPenney's, that's a massive ship to turn. And if they weren't already going down that path beforehand, game over, right? Shops are closing. They can't do any revenue. Say retailers like Primark here, right? They were closed all their stores for months. They didn't have an online channel. Whilst they have survived, it's still incredibly tough for them. But I think it's also from a consumer perspective too, right? There's obviously been that massive change of a lot of new consumers purchasing online for the first time, accelerating their purchases. I know that I've bought more online in the past 2 years than ever before, right? I think I've probably count the number of times I've actually gone to a grocery store in the past 2 years on one hand. But I think consumers are also expecting a lot more too. There's been a lot of investment by the retailers in the past 2 years around what technology they are using. A lot of retailers are, say, somewhat cashed up over the past 2 years because they've seen very, very strong growth, and they've invested in bringing on extra tools in to really accelerate the growth further. Regardless if that is a new CRM system, moving over to a new shop system, bringing in some other loyalty tool. Right, they've really invested in ensuring that this customer experience is completely there, is seamless, and they all talk to each other in a best of breed. I think that's probably been also one of the massive changes that we have seen is that, say, philosophy of making sure that all the data is connected with each other and not just in their own individual tech silos there. So making sure that your, say, review system talks to your loyalty system, which talks to your emailing system, which talks to your shop system, right?
Yeah.
No longer silos, no longer individual systems, but part of like a overall ecosystem for every single store.
100%. I think I agree with both Jay and Shane, you both. So I think what I'm hearing is that during the pandemic, it really accelerated e-commerce. It forced businesses to really prioritize their e-commerce strategy and really like bringing back, of course, to today's topic where you're talking about customer loyalty. So with that kind of backdrop, so why is it so important? I mean, it's of course important to have that go-to-market strategy, direct to consumer, e-commerce. But how do we go to a step further, and why is that important? So maybe just posing the question out there. So why do you think it's so important to actually build a great relationship with customers, especially in e-commerce? Yeah, and some may actually say that having a great relationship with customers is even more important for great products. So, what do you guys think? Maybe Shane, over you to first
Sure.
this time.
I think it's in days where, say, Facebook CPMs have never been higher. Apple restricting a lot of data to be able to target consumers. Acquisition costs are just going crazy currently. Here again and again, lots of brands are having real struggles. Where they have been able to, say, largely rely on, say, social media to drive acquisition costs. They're kind of having to turn those channels off now. That kind of leads back to, okay, they need to retain existing customers, making sure that they are coming back again and again and again, and preferably in ways that aren't, say, discount heavy, right? So making sure that the retailer understands who the customers are, build this relationship over time in a sustainable manner. There's sort of kind of, a few other options for them to basically do it. If they are paying more than they ever have before to acquire them, they need to get the lifetime value out of them to make it a fundamentally sound and sustainable business. If they don't do that, then they are going to go the way of the JCPenney's and have to shut up shop because the business model just doesn't work, because they have to pay too much to acquire new customers again and again and again. So I think from that aspect, it is largely a acquisition topic. They have to fund acquisition of new customers coming in. Also, as I sort of said on the previous question, consumer expectations have just increased. There's just a point blank statement there. It is no longer the case where a retailer sees the online and offline store as two separate, say, parties. They see the one company. They want the in-store staff to know what they purchase in the online store. Those expectations have just increased. Therefore, the customer relationship, the customer experience has to evolve with it, and there's no other way around it these days.
Yeah, and I would agree with all that, and I think you nailed it when customer acquisition is becoming harder than ever through paid channels, and I think keeping a customer is sometimes arguably more important than acquiring a new one. And there's a lot of data around it, and people have probably heard the numbers. You're 5 to 7 times more likely to sell to existing customers than to new ones, and you have a 60 to 70% chance of selling to existing customers, and a 5 to 25% of selling to a new customer. So understanding data like that and using your existing customer base and thinking of it as an acquisition channel, and relationship is such an important part of that. But it's not just a customer you acquire, convert, sell, and move on. They need to also be an acquisition channel, and that's why they're so important. And brands rarely leverage that probably as much as they should. But I think, though, that through the pandemic, I think brands did start to realize this, and through everything that's happening now with iOS changes and email opens being harder to track, and retargeting being harder through social media, people are realizing, like, I need to really maximize these relationships. And you mentioned, I was looking up some interesting data the other day, and you mentioned loyalty, and one thing that isn't, and we're in the I would say, like, the paid subscription space. So there's kind of a gray line between, you could say, paid membership, paid. There's this new term circling called paid loyalty, and I'll read 3 stats that I found out, and I'll mention a couple things. But people who are part of a paid loyalty or a paid membership program, they're 43% more likely to spend more every week than non-paid loyalty members. 59% more likely to choose a brand over a competitor, and they're 62% more likely to spend more. And those numbers are all for customers who are part of a paid loyalty program versus people who are part of a non-paid, like just a loyalty program. I think everyone listening here has probably walked into a store, bought something, and the store clerk says, "Hey, would you like to join our loyalty program?" And you've probably couldn't be bothered. You just said, "No, I don't have time." But at the same time, people are taking out their wallets to pay to join programs like REI and Nike and Amazon Prime and others. And so brands are starting to figure that out, that there's value there, not just in the recurring, revenue they make from it, but from all the increased benefits everywhere else too. So that's why I think it's so critical.
Exactly, and I can also, knowing my own purchasing habits, the amount of money that I spend with, say, Amazon, say Zalando here, purely because I know that firstly, I'm going to get the products much quicker, but I know, I'm paying for the extra service there. That's where I just go to compared to, say, other retailers where, it's probably cheaper, but I know I'm just not going to get that, say, level or, say, one-upped customer service if something is actually going wrong. And when you look at I think Amazon last week increased their Amazon Prime subscription costs by, I think it was like $3 something. Or it was a fairly small change, but it ended up being like billions in revenue for them. With a small change because they have 200 million customers every year paying for Prime,
and probably hardly very little churn. I imagine there might have been some, but the one thing that Amazon does really well, and I know there's a question coming up on this, but I'll say it now. They continually add value to their membership. Like if you think about when you signed up for your Amazon Prime account, I don't know, like 6 years ago. Now you have access to Prime Video storage, music, Alexa,
groceries,
you name it, groceries. Like they just keep adding value. And I would say if you don't order something on Amazon for a couple months, your brain doesn't probably go to think, I should cancel that subscription. It's not the first thing you think of. You're a member for life, because there's so much value there. So
exactly.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, Shane J. Those are very interesting kind of insights and statistics. I think it's really impressive to know that increasingly people are paying for loyalty, customer loyalty, and that is super interesting. And I think 100% that acquiring a customer is super expensive, but a more sustainable way would be convincing your existing customers, and building that great relationship is an even more important kind of acquisition channel. So I think moving also into, I think you guys already covered that a little, but we mentioned Amazon, like top players like Amazon going into customer loyalty, doubling down on that. So putting in mind that now most of the stuff is virtual with D2C coming right up. So what do you think are some of the ways that e-commerce businesses can build relationships with customers in the virtual or online world? I think Jay mentioned about going to a store, asking you to sign up for a loyalty program in a physical store might not work that well, but how about in the online kind of world? Maybe Jay, over to you first.
Sure. So I think attention is probably the most valuable asset right now, or resource on the internet. It's when the internet came out, there was you'd hear people say, "Oh, your competitor's a click away." It's even harder now. Now your competitor's not just a click away; they're on every channel. They can sell everywhere. Your customers are probably following them on social media. So it's even more fierce competition for attention. So when you do get a customer, it's so important to capitalize it by turning that attention into interest, and then interest into a sale into trust, and then trust into a relationship. So it's kind of like a multi-step process. One of the things, and I don't know, this it could sound a little self-promoting because we have subscription software, but I think there's a bit of a mistake here that like people often say subscription commerce is relationship commerce, and I actually disagree a bit, because I think subscriptions are starting to become table stakes for a lot of brands, and B, more of a billing and a shipping decision. It's not so much like I commit to a brand and I have a relationship with a brand. It's just, you know what, I like to buy my coffee on subscription, or my shampoo on subscription, or whatever. It's just I buy that way. So I would be careful not to make the mistake to think that, if you have some type of a customer committing to a membership or a subscription, that they have a relationship with you. I think you need to I think a subscription is a small piece of a great membership. And a membership has so much more value. And when it's done right, I love being on as a store owner. Memberships are great and recurring, like billing memberships, because they have recurring revenue and it's great for so many ways. But as a customer, I actually like it as well too, because that store has better data on me. They can probably give me better product recommendations, better service. I'm more valuable to that store. So that store can spend more to acquire me. They can spend more to service me, because I have on average, 178% higher lifetime value. But for the brands that are doing it right, it's more like 600% higher lifetime value than a one-time customer. So I would prefer to be a member at a brand than a customer. So it's and actually at the end of the day, people crave membership. Like if you threw 1,000 people on an island and you went back a couple months later, they'll form tribes. They'll form
groups.
They'll form groups. And it's just human nature. They want to be a part of things. And so if you as a brand can find ways to give unique value, and that value can be in access to content on your site, access to products that non-members don't get. It could be when products come out, they get access to it ahead of time. Maybe it's VIP pricing. Maybe it's offline events. Maybe you have things where you have a retail store, or you do host events that only members can come to. The list goes on, but find ways to add value to those customers and continually add value. I think that's kind of where I was thinking about that Amazon point. Is a lot of times brands think they get a customer, they sign up, and that's it. You need to continually onboard and continue add value to that customer, because 6 months from now, what keeps them engaged in the relationship is going to be different than what got them to sign up. And if it doesn't evolve, then they churn.
Exactly.
Sorry,
and that's
no,
definitely. I think value is what also I was going to be leading to too. Everything drives around value. Everybody wants. No one wants to go purchase from somewhere where they know they're getting ripped off, or they're not being, say, looked after well, or they're just not having a good experience. Experience comes back to value too. And obviously value can come in many different forms. It doesn't have to be monetary. It can be just a goodwill gesture. But over delivering on value will index there on the customer experience and customer, say, loyalty every single day. They want to make sure that they're getting, say, a bargain. It could potentially be, but it could also be, hey, you people are members at, say, Soho House, because they know when they arrive there, they're going to be recognized. They are going to have a great service. They're going to have a great meal, meet people. They're getting good value for what they're actually buying. Everything comes back to value for me. I think on the flip side of it too, you need to have your, say, ears to the ground, listening to your customers. Are they happy with what their value is? Are you over or under delivering that? Are they asking for things that you're not delivering? Right? Maybe you are Nike, and one of my biggest peeves with Nike is it's next to impossible to buy laces from them. Right? Like, is this, what are you delivering that value that you are actually wanting to get? So making sure that feedback loop is there in some fashion, to make sure that you are continually improving, delivering more, and meeting those expectations as customer expectations also rise.
Yeah, absolutely.
And of course, Jay, you mentioned about how subscription helps in some way to build that relationship. And I think, Shane, knowing that reviews.io, you guys help to collect feedback, reviews from customers. So maybe could you also share some light on this? So, I mean, from an instinctive perspective, it almost seems like reviews is something that businesses fear, because they might bring, for example, more harm. Of course, as a consumer perspective, but would love to hear from your perspective, how do you think these reviews or collecting that feedback help to build relationships with customers as well?
Sure. I think without that feedback loop. You're always going to be, as a shop owner, flying blind, right? You don't know if you are, delivering great, say, experiences, or you're really disappointing people. And I think that concern that, say, lots of, say, shop owners have around, hey, I don't want to have any sort of negative reviews about my brand, on any portal anywhere, right? I understand it, but it's kind of like a fear that it's actually a great opportunity. So I very often recommend to say lots of D2C brands where they are, at that point where they're maybe doing even like 1,000, a few thousand orders every month. It's still scalable to call personally as the founder anyone who has a bad experience. If you say, even just do the basic maths of, hey, this is, say, a 20% conversion rate from order to a review on 2,500 orders a month, right? That's 500 reviews. Say 2% of them are a bad feedback, right? That's 10 calls to customers every month. It's like one every 3 days. Call them, talk to them. Why was it bad? Hey, what can we do? And I can tell you now, those customers, even though they had a bad experience, maybe say really annoyed, they're gonna be blown away by that, right? The owner of this store that I just purchased from has personally called me to try to resolve the issue, to try to hear what I'm trying to say, and that is going to very likely convert the person back to a loyal customer. Because have you ever had a call from ASOS? Have you ever had a call from Amazon proactively? Mm-hmm. Never, right? There's one way that, say, a D2C brand can over-index on that, say, listening to customers to build the customer relationship or the customer loyalty there. Very simple way, but it's by taking it to the extreme of, hey, those, say, processes actually scale, or they are less burdensome than what you actually think that they are. And then you can build more sophisticated systems, connecting it into a Zendesk, a Gorgeous, to send to your customer support team, because you have 100,000 orders every month and you need that scale. But generally speaking, it's a lot more scalable than what you think it is. Yeah.
I always say, make sure you read the 3 stars too. I always find that because the people that rave about it, they might likely be the person that just gives 5-star reviews, and then some people are angry people and give 1 stars. But the people that give 3 stars, they care about your product, they want to use it, and I find like very intelligent reviews that actually have insightful feedback.
They've actually thought about it. They've balanced the pros and the actual cons, as opposed to I know it was partly damaged.
I hate this product. Yeah, exactly.
Lots of feedback. Yeah, definitely. It's less of a reactionary feedback there.
Yeah.
Thanks, Shane. Thanks for sharing that. And I guess as a consumer, I think moving forward, I'll be a bit more careful with my reviews as well. So very interesting insights from that. So moving on to the next question. So now we talk a bit about the how to build the relationship. Now moving into what do you think are the biggest challenges or obstacles when businesses want to build these lasting relationship with their customers? And maybe giving our audience a bit more examples, maybe from both Jay and Shane. Do you have any interesting stories, perhaps from your customers, to share about this as well? So maybe starting with you, Jay.
Sure, yeah. There's many ways you can build a relationship. My head's going to a bunch here, but I'll pick a few. So first of all, not to oversimplify it, but if you think of yourself at like a cocktail party or an event, and if you're the person in the corner who's yelling, I mean, you would never do this in real life, but imagine you're in a corner and you're yelling like, "Hey, I'm awesome at this thing. Hey, I have this awesome product. Hey, this is like," no one would want to be friends with you. But if you go and you engage, you better not have ever done that. If you go and you engage with people and you talk to them and you listen, and you're, like this is just basic stuff. Like, everyone knows this. We know how to build relationships in real life, but we're horrible at it online. Like it just for some reason. And if you look at brands, like their Twitter accounts, and you look at what percentage of their tweets are them promoting their product or the audience versus what percentage of their content is them engaging with people, like, customers using their products. Like, it's very easy to set up feeds. You can use TweetDeck, you can use all kinds of tools to see when someone posts about your product and engage with them, comment them. I know brands that actually follow when customers purchase something, they follow them on Instagram or Twitter, and and then they engage with them. That's one of the best ways to use social media to engage, comment on, like, and imagine you buy a shoe from a brand like Allbirds or somewhere, and then you post a picture of them and they comment on them, and maybe you didn't even tag them, but you can search their name. Anyways, that's just one thing. And I think the other thing too is when we say this a lot in the subscription space, but this applies to any space, whether it's one-time orders or not. But when a customer orders something, they have this very high level of excitement, and it starts to go down day by day by day. And then by the time they get the product, the worst case scenario is they get the product and they never even heard from you. But you have this opportunity, this window where it's literally like a half-life of excitement. Every day it gets less and less and less. But there's some brands that understand the value of educating and building that excitement up. And the best example I can give of this is, like, if you order wine and you have no idea what the bottle is and you just order it and you drink it, you're probably not going to appreciate it. But if a sommelier comes by your table and talks about the wine farm, where it's made, what type of grapes, and it's done, and it's how it's bottled, whatever, like, they give you all the details on it, you drink it, you're probably going to go, that's good. Just the knowledge.
It suddenly just tastes better.
It suddenly tastes better, right? And so a super simple thing when you buy a product, whether it's your onboarding flows, I've even seen it on videos, on thank you pages, like, educate your customers on the value of the product. Does some of the money go towards a charity? Where is it made? Where is it? What's the material from? Are you, like, is it eco-friendly? Are you carbon neutral? Are you what? Like, you might have that all on the front page of your website. It might say in your footer that it's carbon neutral. It might, but educate them as you go. And actually, one of the best examples of this is Charity Water. Like, they're not necessarily e-commerce, but if you donate to Charity Water, and on the thank you page, like, you just donated, you just purchased it, but on the thank you page is a video from the CEO saying, thank you so much for your donation. Here's what your donation does. It's going to help build wells all over the world. And, like, you just bought it. Like, why do you need to know that again? But you need to always re-educate your customers, because they are your brand ambassadors, and they'll, in the subscription space, the number one channel for acquisition is referred by friend. It's also very high in one-time products, but it just happens to be in subscription even higher because subscribers are more likely to refer friends. But it's really important to arm your customers with all the knowledge. So when they're using that product, like when I'm wearing my Allbirds shoes, I can say, oh, it's actually from this wool in New Zealand, from this sheep, and they're carbon neutral. And that's because they do a good job educating me on that. So there's really, really easy opportunities to build that relationship. But a lot of times brands just tweet about the product. They don't engage with you. You order it, you get an order confirmation email, and that's it. The order confirmation email, fun fact, has the highest open rate of any email on the internet. Yet very few brands do anything with it. So I don't know. That's a couple things I could go on, but those are like two quick wins I would implement like right away.
Yeah, like we've seen very similar things with sort of brands engaging with clients or say customers on social. Like we have a client here here in Germany called Concrete Jungle to make beautiful concrete jewelry, right? They at least used to do like a feedback Thursday where they'll make really gorgeous social media imagery from the feedback which they have from like the previous week, and that'll be the Instagram stories, right? So they're very much one of those love brands. Their customers love it because it's very unique style of product. But then when they actually post it out, then it's also a case of like, oh Jesus, this brand is talking about me personally, right?
Mm.
So it's very simple, this way to engage with the community, sort of bring that community around the brand, and being able to sort of, foster that, being part of the group or part of the clique there, because you are one of the customers, or, the brand recognizes you as a loyal customer. Coming to say like those social good topics too. We've started recently working with a company called Green Spark, who help say retailers very easily do social good by way of say planting trees, removing plastic from the oceans, and just doing that on an automated basis based upon the reviews collected, right? So it'd be very easy for them to set up, or say for clients who are using the service, say, hey, you have just submitted a review for the shoes which you have just purchased. This is what this has done. We will be planting a tree in Mexico for this, right?
Yeah.
So bring back, hey, this is what your patronage is doing beyond just a product.
Yeah.
We have brands that do plenty of work around sort of dog adoption, or plastic removal. We have plenty of brands who do that, and it's just a way to really involve the customer with the brand and be part of this group who's doing better. Yeah.
I got a really good one that I've seen, and actually I do this with. So I sold the stores that I used to run, but my brother has one, and it's like my side fun project. I help him with his store. We started doing, every time people left a review, anytime it was a 5-star review, automatically emailing them and asking for a video. So he sells archery targets, and it was like, hey, if you can send a video. I don't know what I think he's giving like a $50 discount or something, but to send a video of shooting it, pulling the arrow out, or whatever review is it, and then signing off that they can use it in like Instagram stories and reels and as ads, and they convert better than any ad, because it's like all their ads just user generated content, which is more authentic than a brand doing it. And customers love to do it. They love to do it because you've got this customer who just left this 5-star review. They're super happy. Like, maximize it.
Yep, exactly. They are the best. They're the best customers to get sort of that extra value from. They've already put their hand up, say, happy customer here, and then just asking them for like, hey, that's great. We'd love to see that you using the product.
Yeah.
Easy sell. If they are happy, they're probably going to purchase again. If they're going to get $50 off for the next purchase, even better. Yeah.
Thanks, Shane. Thanks, Jay. Those are great ideas, and I really like the idea of reaching out to basically already customers that love your product. I think that's a great way, of course, to retain them. So now, looking that we are approaching the end of this session, the great conversation so far. The time just passed so quickly. Just want to wrap up with maybe a last question for both of you. So just putting in mind all these great kind of advice that we have so far, if we had just one key takeaway or one advice that you would like to give to e-commerce businesses or retailers on building lasting relationships, so what would that be? So maybe who wants to go first? Maybe Jay, over to you first.
One key takeaway on building lasting relationships?
Yes, exactly.
Well, I mean, the 2 tips I just gave, but besides that, I think, because I mean, there's 100 things like that you can do, but I think what's important is a few things. One, you need, we talk a lot about like customer acquisition costs, and everyone can tell you like what it is when you spend on an ad, acquire a customer, and they convert. But when you have a customer who you have a relationship with, who buys 5 to 6 times, who refers 3 friends, like your most engaged customers do, they have incredibly much more value. And typically the customers they refer are similar and like-minded, and they have a lot of value as well too. And I don't see brands investing enough in those customers. They look at a marketing campaign and they say, I'm spending $30 a click or a conversion, and I'm only making $40, so $10 isn't enough, and they throw it all away. But they do zero analysis on the type of customer. So like, are they getting a one-time customer, or are they getting a subscriber or a member? Is that customer rebuying? And so when you look at segments like that, and this whole economy of membership and relationship and subscription, you kind of have to rethink a little bit how you think about customer acquisition and at cost and LTV, because we have this model of how we think about it. And I think a lot of brands are missing out on some opportunity. Invest in your existing members. That's huge. Always increase value. So what got them to become a part of your membership, like have a relationship with you today, isn't what's going to keep them around tomorrow. And like, same thing, like when you think of, not to sound cheesy, but like when you start dating someone, the thing that attracted them to you in the beginning isn't going to be what keeps them 5 years down the road. And it's a relationship. Like, the principles of a relationship hold true. You need to always add value, make them feel appreciated, always be increasing the benefits and value that they get, if you want them to stick around. Otherwise, the grass is going to be greener on some other e-commerce field or stores field. So,
yeah, I think that's very true. I think the need to keep on evolving, develop the brand, develop the experience, and know that customers are at different stages along that journey, right? And as you go from a brand that's 1 year old to 5 years old to 10 years old, you will have customers who are at day one when you're 10 years down the track. So you do need to educate them in that, what services you offer, what are the brand values, how do you bring them along the journeys. When you are 20 years down the track, they're at the 10-year mark, right? And that involves listening to customers, having a dialogue. I think there is a lot of I say two sides of the coin, whether say consumers want to have a relationship with every brand, right? There are those brands where they want to be part of the community, but if I'm buying, I'll say I don't know, toilet paper, right? I don't want to have a relationship with that retailer. It's just it's a transaction, done deal. I will need toilet paper again, but I don't want to have that relationship. I don't want to have a toilet paper loyalty program. It really depends on the brand, what those values are, and listening to the customer. How do you engage with the customer in those different levels of expectations? And especially there's going to be a lot of challenges in the coming, 12 to 18 months as, hopefully the world returns back to some sense of normal. Right, we've been in this very over-indexed period where shops have been closed for periods. People have come to purchasing online more or for the first times. That is going to return, somewhat back to normal, but it's always going to be a few years ahead of where we would have been otherwise. What can we learn from the past 2 years to continue to deliver that experience where click and collect, 15-minute delivery. Right, I don't think that the likes of Gorillas or Flink or any other or the DoorDashers, right? They wouldn't have accelerated as quick as they have the past years without the pandemic. But suddenly there's this infrastructure there to deliver products from your local neighborhood in 15 minutes. I remember the first time that I ordered from Gorillas, it was there in 4 minutes. Right, it's absolutely crazy, but how can retailers now take advantage of that? There are retailers here in Germany who are now delivering from their local stores very quickly, not within that 15-minute sort of time frame, but still, half an hour delivery from your local, DM, which is our version of, Walgreens or Boots, right? Those expectations are changing. So what can you have used from the learning from the past 2 years to meet this new world again, which is going to be coming in for the next 12 to 18 months? What can you have learned from the old day, the current day, to meet the future day? So I do think we are going to be entering a new phase in this coming 12 to 18 months as it kind of returns back to some sort of normal world. Yeah.
Thanks, Jay. Thanks, Shane. 100%. I think what I'm hearing, of course, is listen to your customers, invest more in your customers, and always bring more value to your customers. So I think, unfortunately, we are actually at the end of the session, but a really great session. I took away so many insights. I think lots of great advice on building great relationships with customers. So once again, really thank you, a big thank you to Jay and Shane for sharing your expertise and insights on this topic. It was really, really glad to have you.
It was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me.
Definitely. No worries at all. And of course, to our audience, thank you so much for joining us again in our panel discussion. So for more such insights and discussions with experts, remember to follow us on our LinkedIn page. We will have these sessions on a more frequent basis, so don't forget to check us out. And have a good morning, afternoon, night, wherever you are. Thank you, everyone.
Right. Thank you.